I had a lot of fun doing this the other day, so I think I'm, like I said, gonna make it a regular thing. So I decided after sitting down to watch Venom, I was like, I'm gonna make Venom and Venom 2 the subject for today. So I've got notes, and we're gonna see how accurate San Quentin is to the real San Quentin. But first thing, I'm gonna use the word condemned instead of the D word because the condemned row is more TikTok and YouTube friendly than the D word. Um, so, anyways, on with the notes. Uh, the condemned unit at San Quentin has three units. It's the Quiet North Seg, which is for lesser offenders, I guess, if that's a good way to say it. There's the East Block, which is described as a crumbling, leaky maze. And there's the Adjustment Center, which is for the worst of the worst. In Venom 1, the post-credit scene that shows Cletus, which has another little thing that I'll say later, but in Venom 1, it shows that he is in the adjustment block, which means worst of the worst, which means that he would be getting 23 hours a day seg. He would be getting an hour for showering, for major hygiene, and for exercise, which is just how death row. Ooh, didn't mean to say. Which is how most condemned row inmates have their days planned out. Um, when I was watching it, I noticed that Cletus in the first movie has this big old carrot top afro, and he's got just a regular, just normal styled hair in the second one. I know that's for a cinematic look. I know in the comics he sometimes had this big old carrot top fro. Um, in his regular, everyday hygiene kit, I do not imagine they would give him any sharps. They wouldn't give him any shaving kit that's got a razor in it. They probably wouldn't even give him like an electric razor. So they probably, what they would do is that they would go ahead, they would have him come up to the door, they'd handcuff him, they'd take him to a chair, they'd secure him to the chair, and then after securing him to the chair, they would get the inmate that is the prison barber over to wherever they would have him sit down and probably give him a weekly, if not a weekly, then a bi-weekly shave and probably a top up on a haircut if he wants. But he, with his record, he would have to be restrained at all times. I wouldn't put it past a movie to say that he would have to be sedated, but I don't see a reason. As long as he's restrained with at least, one guard, preferably two, he'd be fine. But yeah, that's if you were wondering how he would have gotten his mop top taken care of, and that's how he would shave. Second thing that I noticed was when Eddie walks in to talk to him in the second movie, he walks out. As he's walking out, he sees Cletus's cell, his regular cell, because he has a visitation cell where it's the regular, what you'd see, iron bars. That right there, first of all, seems... It seems right. There's not really a protocol amongst every prison that would do that. Sometimes they would just have them behind the door. Other times they'd have them restrained to a chair, and the reporter, cop, lawyer, whoever, visitor would sit across from them at a minimal distance. Especially since it's before COVID, I could see it being a cell. That's probably where I could see him having visitation. I'm not sure about the stool and metal table, because he'd eat in his cell and probably sign any legal documents in his cell, overseen by a guard or lawyer, depending on the severity of legal document. There are special cases with famous inmates, which he is. You'd see people like Ed Kemper. You'd see people like Manson, a couple of them, where they get special, privileged interviews since it's in the public's interest. Those would also be highly monitored. They'd probably at least have an ankle and belly chain on. They would be more than likely secured at least one arm to a chair, just for the safety of the reporter or the interviewer or whoever, lawyer, whoever's visiting. But when Eddie walks by his cell, there's all these scratches in the wall, and Venom sees it and, puts together the clues. They do that, but with regular cell inspections, especially with condemned row individuals, that would have been cleaned up in a matter of days. It doesn't matter how worn and tired the facility is, especially with an inmate like Cletus. There's one thing that gets me is how he would do it, because he shouldn't have anything that's sharp, but he does get a prison pen, which is the inkwell, the pen, the inside of the pen, and it's like a little rubber tube that's on the outside of the pen, and you see him writing a note with that. It's red. I assume it's blood. I've had inmates pass notes like that before. The usual prison pens are in blue or black. I've seen them taking them apart for all sorts of things. Tattoos, tattoo guns, syringes, like very, very flimsy weapons. I guess the pen didn't look tampered with, but he could have, been written in it. Because you do see him, I think it was the first one, he writes a welcome Eddie sign. So, yeah. So, I could assume that's where it came from. Like I said, I've had notes passed to me that exact same way. So, there's no indication that that's not what it is. Really, they did okay. The chamber at the end, San Quentin's chamber is not like that. It's a long viewing gallery to have multiple medical professionals in there and guards. It wouldn't be just for the warden, one guard, or one doctor, like it was in the movie. It's just not. It's not safe. It's not practical. But it's cinematic, so really, it surprises me that he doesn't know that his girlfriend's in Ravencroft. Again, even death row inmates get all the news. They get everything. So I don't see why he wouldn't know, but then again, it's a closely guarded government secret, so maybe. Really, the only other thing that I could see wrong with it is that the guard just sat there whenever Eddie put down the tape recorder on the bars after he was told to maintain distance. Taking one step out of line, even with a visitor, even with a special visitor like a reporter, he would be warned first. He set down the recorder. Guard would have taken the recorder, wouldn't have confiscated it, would have grabbed it, handed it back to him, told him to maintain distance. That includes objects, hands and feet, even clothing, especially for how, the severity of Cletus's issues. Other than that, it's fine. I don't see why a mass heavy lockdown unit like San Quentin had inmates out in common area for rec or whatever. I don't know why. Just another cinematic thing. Other than that, it's a movie prison. It doesn't work on regular prison rules because they need to make it like a movie. But other than that, it's fine. It's not, blaringly inaccurate, but it's also not, strictly ruled prison. But other than that, I don't see a problem.